Let's start this shit. Okay, my people, today we're making a reaction video about rapping Hitman with 8 bodies still on the run, Bloodhound Q50 from Treblor Ross. It's a 2 hour video. Thank God I'm free today, so we're gonna make a long ass reaction video. I will try to watch this shit completely, and that's gonna be it for today. But I will be here for 2 hours, so 3 hours. Let's see, let's watch this shit, enjoy this shit, and let's start. Today we're not, it's crime, but it's not the same crime shit. We're just gonna make some reaction video to this shit and I'm enjoying it.
Decades now. The city has one of the longest histories with gangs. The streets of Chicago have been a war zone for decades now. The city has one of the longest histories with gangs operating in the area, whether the Black Disciples, Gangster Disciples, Black Pea Stones, or dozens of other gangs that have operated there over the years. There's always groups waving their flag and fighting for dominance in every corner of the city. Gang wars and
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. My people, we're watching this shit on TikTok. I will put them in the description. The link for next time you can join us. I will put my account and shit in the description of the video of YouTube. So next time you can join us and we can watch together. So I will be reacting to the chat of TikTok if you wonder who I'm talking with. So let's go ahead. Let's get into this. Let's do this.
Chicago were a thing long before drill music emerged in the 2010s, with many of these gang-affiliated youths getting on the mic and documenting the bloody battles on their blocks, creating songs about the violence, many of which became hits. From Chief Keef to Lil Durk to King Von and FBG Duck. The songs these rappers made laid down the history of life in the...
What's crazy is a lot of these niggas are dead or they are in prison. It's crazy, bruh. Rap, drill and shit is getting heavy. A lot of indictments, a lot of RICO cases, a lot of craziness. But let's get into it.
The streets of Chicago through jaw-dropping lyrics about killing and being killed in this treacherous environment. In my recent video, I covered Chicago's newest drill rap star and arguably aspiring serial killer, Bloodhound, Lil Jeff, the rapping hitman who himself claimed to have killed 11 people before his own untimely death. As those paying attention to the drill rap scene know, Jeff was seemingly on his way to becoming a major star in the scene, powered not only by his catchy music, which at the time was seemingly as hated amongst the drill fans as it was liked, but perhaps even more by his wild antics on social media and brazen lyrics bragging that he had indeed killed 10 or 11 people. But Jeff's rise in the rap game would be stopped before it even truly got started, as in June 2024, he would lose his life in a truly harrowing way, getting gunned down.
Told you, these niggas, you catch 10 bodies, you make a song about it, you think the ops is not gonna catch you lacking one day? Bro, you dead, bro.
While literally chasing a man into a house whilst wildly shooting in his direction, with the security camera video of these events going viral soon after his passing, showing the world in 4K the dark truth that Jeff was really living the lifestyle he rapped about. And while Jeff isn't here anymore to take advantage of this virality, it would blow up his already existing fame to a whole new level, making him the latest poster boy for what the new generation of Chicago drill.
Bro, that's so stupid. Always if they die, the same shit happened to Juice WRLD. The same shit happened to most rappers. If they get incarcerated, they go to jail or something, and then their music gonna pop up like crazy, or they die, they blow up even crazier. Bro, it's what a fucking cycle, bro. They only get known when they're dead or in jail. They come out, make some music, go back to jail. Look at Pusha is still in jail. And he made a lot of, he was popping. Now where he at?
Looks like, both on wax and in the streets, where killing has seemingly become so normalized that you have to at least claim to have several murders under your belt to even dream of making a name for yourself in music, and still attempting to catch your next body whilst being contacted by major record labels looking to sign you. However, the story of Lil Jeff's clique, the Bloodhounds, might stay on drill fans' radar long after his passing, because Jeff was by no means the only one. As those who followed Jeff's career closely know, he had a right-hand man named Q50 who was seemingly doing everything that Jeff was doing too, including allegedly participating in killing up to 8 people, some of these people possibly being the same victims that Jeff has been alleged to have killed too, as these two had often referenced in their raps how they used to slide on their ops together. In fact, when it comes to the shooting that would claim Jeff's life, beside Jeff himself, Q50 is seemingly the only other person to have been identified as allegedly being at the scene with Jeff, because while Jeff and his accomplices were wearing masks during their attack, a still image from a security camera would later begin to circulate, showing someone who looks a lot like Q50 carrying the lifeless body of Jeff without a mask, and seemingly wearing the exact same distinctive red tracksuit that one of the shooters at the scene had been wearing too. Indeed, it appears that while Jeff was still alive, Q50 cared more about the streets than rapping, and although he would participate in making music, particularly by featuring on songs together with Jeff, he seemingly had very little interest in pursuing a real career in rap, as he would explain during an On a Couch TV interview in May 2024.
When can we expect like an album from all? It's like at least 5 of y'all, 6 of y'all or something that rap.
I ain't gonna lie, folks. Let me tell you something with that rap. Say something about that rap, folks. I don't really get no about it for real, you feel me? Cause on my dick, this the meal ticket out there, folks. Let's convert and let y'all. That's the, you know, they the meal tickets of this on my dick, so I don't even get no about that. You know?
However, this would all seemingly change after Jeff's death, which was followed almost exactly a month later with the death of their good friend and Bloodhound affiliate, Lil Scoom, another highly popular and up-and-coming rapper who had arguably recorded and released the most music out of all of the members of that group. With both of these popular rappers and very close friends of Q50, Lil Jeff and Lil Scoom now being out of the picture, Q50 himself would seemingly decide to take rap more seriously to carry the torch for the Bloodhounds. This can be seen with his musical output, with him dropping several solo songs with music videos in recent weeks, these videos all gathering hundreds of thousands.
But nog een ding, I really don't understand that shit. Why the fuck do you need to put your gang name like Bloodhound, or there's so many, OTF, or not hating on it? You can be part of it. It can be in your name, but do you really need to use it like for your career, like Bloodhound? Or there's so many. I know you're representing your crew, but you know they're gonna fuck you. It's like YSL. It's like all these niggas. Like, why do you need to put it in your name? Don't put it in your name. You can be part of it, but don't be like. It's like NLE. NLE is great. Weet ik veel nog wat. He's part of like the purple side of the, you know, the Crips and shit. No, most people don't even know that shit. They know he has street connections and blah, 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 but they don't know precisely what he is. You know, who is his hitter? Does he do shit? Like, nobody knows shit. But he, you know, like, come on, stop it.
Thousands of views. Q50 had clearly been paying attention to how Jeff was making a name.
They're gonna catch you anyways, but it's the same shit. Don't be that incriminating. I know it's part of the whole shit, you know, like that's the thing. It's the persona, you know, the whole persona, like, yeah, I need to be against. They are gangster, they are killing people, but try to be more, you know, like on the low about it. You don't need to be like, I think more hush hush, you know, like do your shit good. Nobody needs to know about it. And if you're gonna rap about it, know how to rap about it. Don't just say I kill somebody. No, throw some lines that, you know, like deep thoughts. They try, but still, bruh, like,
himself with his seemingly overly audacious and possibly self-incriminating lyrics. For example, on Jeff's song Ah, which appears to describe the real murders of 2 high school students with a brazenness that has perhaps never been seen before in rap. And from here, Q52 would begin to drop increasingly outrageous bars himself, like saying how he shot someone 10 times before Jeff shot them 5 times, and then literally saying the name of the alleged victim as an ad-lib.
You see, dropping names. Bruh, stop dropping names.
And that's just one example, because the more you look into Q50's lyrics, particularly the more recent lyrics, the more it begins to seem that he is in fact describing actual crimes that happened, often even providing ridiculously specific details about those crimes, like what model of car they were driving during the hit.
Yes, but we have a plate for that gray Maxima Nissan. It's gonna be...
And this is from 67 Everhart, right?
and was last seen going southbound on Everhart.
But perhaps the craziest part of all this is the fact that unlike Lil Jeff, whose bold lyrics about committing nearly a dozen murders went viral and became the topic of debate amongst drill fans after his death, Q50 on the other hand is actually still alive and evading the police in Chicago and beyond, and still rapping about having killed 8 people for the whole world to hear, and still actively dropping music at a rate that would put some of the biggest rappers to shame. Q50 is something like a modern day outlaw, and despite his incredible talent for music, the unfortunate truth is that unless he changes his ways and distances himself from the streets, his story can only end one of 2 ways. With the question being, will the authorities crack the case and catch up with him before his rivals in the streets do? So in this video, we'll be taking a closer look at who exactly is Lil Jeff's right-hand man, Bloodhound Q50, the true stories behind some of his wildest lyrics, and try and answer once and for all, is this rapping hitman on the run likely to make it out of the streets for good?
Breaking news at the 5 o'clock hour. 3 people have been wounded by gunfire at a McDonald's restaurant on Chicago's South Side.
So, SAS up at McDonald's. McDonald's.
More info for the police, 95th and Lafayette. 2 male blacks jumped back into a white Infiniti. Last seen going northbound on Lafayette. Possible 4 occupants.
This morning, police are doing everything they can to find the person who shot and killed a 19-year-old.
How do y'all move out here? Everybody probably see y'all got the Z-Money tattoo on your face. It's probably real noticeable.
You know that.
Y'all basically let us know who that too. We see y'all keep his name alive every chance y'all get.
That's cuz. That's our cousin, folks. Me and folks cousin. You see a tattoo on my face? You see that? Hey, look, relentless.
He was actually in a ride share when the driver says someone came up and then started shooting.
Talk your shit, nigga. Talk your shit, nigga. Talk your shit.
3323, I got a name for our victim on 67th Street. First name Glendale. That's George, Lincoln, Eddie, Nora, David, Adam, Lincoln, Eddie.
I'm trying to put this thing Clint. 285 Chris.
I said, yeah, bread on my head. That died the same week on my dead grandma.
Yeah, last name on Harris. Jeffrey, July 12, 2002.
When can we expect like an album from all? It's like at least 5 of y'all, 6 of y'all or something that rap.
I ain't gonna lie, folks. Let me tell you something with that rap. Say something about that rap, folks. I don't really get no about it for real, you feel me? Cause I'm out there, this the meal ticket out there, folks. Let's convert and let y'all, that's the, you know, they the meal tickets on it.
Shots fired at the police, T9 St. Lawrence. They're shooting at the police, 700 East 89th Place. They're shooting at the police.
We got a male, black. He's a honors officer. He's not looking good.
That was on PC. Like, I'm going on to, hey, Kirk, I don't care about going to jail. They treat me like heaven up.
It's no right Russ. Notice ain't mad because his ass got slumped.
Notice he's mad because his ass got slumped. Stupid ass. TJ, come on to it. Be doing all that little yelling and eyes getting big and don't scare nobody. Your ass ain't never killed nobody.
Q50, real name Michaela Cooper, was born on the 6th of August 2004, which is also my birthday, funnily enough. Not much is known about his early years, but it seems that he might have been spending at least some of those years in Chicago, as his 6th birthday would be celebrated at Jackson Park, located not far from the area that he and Jeff would later begin to claim as their hood for the Bloodhounds, one of their main intersections seemingly being on 79th and Maryland, which is located in the Chatham neighborhood. This same hood also being the home to a much older set called Drill City. This area is also considered part of the so-called unofficial east side of Chicago, which I've covered in depth in my earlier Lil Jeff video. However, it seems that at some point, Q50's family would move out of the Chicago city limits to the nearby.
To be honest, this is what I like about Trop Lord. He go deep in this shit, bruh. To be honest, at some point, I want to make videos like that. You know, more, you know, worked up. Or not only reaction videos. We bought a camera to make in real life content. I can use my camera for in real life content, but we want to use different, cameras and shit. So we're really getting ready for all that. But damn, bruh, this is a lot of work. There's a lot of work.
City of Gary, Indiana, which is about 25 miles southeast from downtown Chicago, as can be seen from Q50's mother's old Facebook account. Gary is a city with an industrial working class history which has been deeply affected by the disappearance of manufacturing jobs in the US, making the city lose over half of its population since the 1960s. It's also a city with a rich African American history, and Gary still has one of the largest black populations per capita in America. However, Q50's family from his mother's side seemingly grew up in the so-called east side of Chicago, with the mother apparently attending the Hirsch Metropolitan High School, this being the very same school that the young Bloodhound members who grew up on the east side would also attend, like Ver. However, despite growing up on the east side, unlike Lil Jeff's family, there's no indication that anyone in the close family was heavily involved in any gang activity at this time. To the contrary, the family have seemingly been pretty hard workers, with Q50's uncles having military and navy backgrounds. Recently, a rumor would begin to
He's the black sheep. Damn, bro. There's always a black sheep in the family. I was part of that list. No, not. I don't think I'm that person anymore. So I'm not in that list no more.
spread on social media and Reddit that Q50's mother had been arrested for a gun. But this woman is in fact not Q50's mum, but one of her sisters. In any case, merely having a gun in Chicago, particularly on the south side, is hardly a sign of much else than a desire to protect yourself. But still, growing up on the east side, the family were allegedly somewhat associated with a brain-dead Black Disciple set that would become known as Hit City. In fact, Q50's mother and his sisters can even be seen in a group photo about the set that's attached to a popular Google gang map. Interestingly, the hood of Hit City, which now seems largely to have been taken over by other sets, was located on 77th and Greenwood, which is right next to Drill City, that would later become the home of the Bloodhounds. In December 2013, this set and Q50's family would experience a tragic loss when 18-year-old Darius Dudley would pass away in a car crash. Darius was a cousin of Q50's mother and her siblings, and one of them can be seen together with him on his old Facebook account, whilst Q50's uncle still pays tribute to Darius on his social media to this day. But Darius was also seemingly a very loved member of his Hit City set, which at the time also went by SOB, but would begin to call their hood Darius World in his honor. Both Darius and Q50's family were also close to people from other...
A lot of those, like that genre, like, like that age, like those people, and they started calling a lot of their blogs or shit like the person who died and a world. Bro, I found that like that's different. That's different. Like you see things they do, they live in another planet, bro. Not another planet. They have their own timing. Let me say that, because I'm not. I like this shit too, so I cannot talk shit about it.
The notable sets, one of these people being a rapper called Lil D, who would rep Darius World heavily in his music and on social media. Lil D hails from a BD set called Lowlife, located in Inglewood next to the infamous set Lamron 300. Lowlife is particularly known in the drill culture for allegedly being behind the murder of infamous Brick Squad GD member Lil Jojo, the young rapper who was beefing heavily with Chief Keef and other BD rappers when the drill genre first blew up in popularity, with Jojo becoming a notorious target in the streets after releasing the gangbanging anthem BDK, a ruthless song calling for all black disciples to be killed that became an anthem for gangster disciples. More specifically, Jojo's alleged killer was a notorious shooter and not-so-gentle giant called Loco, who himself would pass away in 2021 for unknown natural reasons. Loco was very close with Lil D, who on the other hand was making a name for himself in the early drill scene with his rapping, releasing numerous music videos that now have over 100,000 views. He was also collaborating with other up-and-coming rappers at the time like Kenny Mac from the Halstead Boys set and Prince Dre from O-Block, as well as being close with people like the rapper Mimo from the infamous 600 set. It seems that Q50's mum and her siblings were even supposed to be part of one of Lil D's music videos in 2014.
Bro, the beef, those type of shit they're doing, bro, this is endless war, bro. It goes on and on because most of those war come from the 90s, 80s, from other gang shit, and it's crazy, bro. People have triple OGs right now, like it's not even oh, I have an OG, no, a double OG, triple OG, bro. It's crazy, bro. It's it's been a long time It's been a long time. These people, it's been long. And they call for peace. There's peace, maybe, or, so called peace for some time, and then they start again, bro. So, yeah, it's always the same shit. They kill one. They go to the board, to the whiteboard, writing down who died, who didn't, who killed who, bro. It's like a game for them. It's not even a game. They know it's not a game, but you know, they act like it's a game.
But for whatever reason, this wouldn't actually happen. Telling a bit about Q50's family history is important to understand why he would later get involved in the deadly gang wars in Chicago, despite seemingly spending much of his childhood and adolescent years outside of Chicago and away from the gang life. As we'll discuss later, the reasons go much deeper than his immediate family's background, because his broader family tree is also deeply connected to the Bloodhounds themselves. Anyways, like Lil Jeff, a young Q50 was also seemingly very into basketball growing up, with his grandfather even making a post all the way back in 2012 saying how little Q50 had promised to buy him a fancy car when he made it to the NBA. In 2018, his uncle would post on social media how he had taken then 14-year-old Q50 to hooping with grown men and he had still held his own. Later, Q50 would post videos of himself playing in a team when he was young, showing that he indeed had some real skills as a hooper. However, height might have been an issue for Q50's hoop dreams fairly early on, although it's unclear exactly when he stopped playing competitively. What we do know is that Q50 would eventually get into high school age, seemingly still living in Indiana, not Illinois, while attending the Maryville High School located in the town of Maryville, which is around 10-mile drive south from Gary. Recently, a video would go viral showing a high school age Q50 fighting with a group of boys at his high school, with Q50 showing that he wasn't scared of getting mobbed by the group, as he would attack one of the boys with a slick takedown, slamming him on the concrete as other boys would swarm him from every direction. After this video would go viral, Q50's mother would comment on it on social media, saying how he hadn't backed down, so they tried to jump him, and that none of those boys would try that with him now, showing that his mother is certainly aware of the reputation that Q50's garnered since those high school days. Anyway, Q50 would eventually graduate from Maryville High School in 2022,
And if I'm not wrong,
with his family
bruh,
members.
I don't even know if I want to say this shit, but I think it's on YouTube. About the fighter I'm talking about, they did the same shit to me. I was fighting a guy after school, and they was filming it, and because I was beating the guy, I fought 3 times this nigga. 3 times I fought him. I fought him the day before. I fought him at the class, in the class. Then I fought him after school, and the next day I fought him again. But the first time I fought him, I just pushed him, a squabble, okay. After school, nobody, no teacher saw it, no nothing. Okay. Then after school, we fought, but I won. But they thought it was like, nah, you was cheating, nah. You hit him from the back, it was cheap shot, like, Okay, fuck it. The next day, we went face to face. I was winning. They get mad. They hit me from the back, multiple guys, I tried to, try to walk it off, walk away because they're too much. There was a lot. They were a lot, bro. They would have killed me. If I would fought back to all of them, they would have killed me for sure.
Posting photos and videos.
A small story time of my life.
Of this joyous event to social media.
Tú dices gallina, but to be honest, bruh, esa gente me estaban tirando hasta botella, loco. Y de todo. They were throwing bottles. Bro, I was alone. I didn't have friends at the school. That's the always the same shit. I never hanged out with nobody at school. So I was against like 10 persons, and they were throwing bottles at me, this and that, because it was after school. It's not like we were fighting in school or something, bro. And at the school I was, people were crazy, bro. I've seen people, most of the days, people smoked at school, just weed, smoke at school. People who went with guns. People went with, bro, it was a crazy ass school, bro. You need to search it up. EPB. I told you about that school once. That was a every day they were fighting. Every day it was a crazy school. It was a crazy school. Nah, our stories are different. So I'm just gonna be talking about my childhood stories. When you're grown, you don't talk about nothing else.
Q50's high school experience was likely greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, as can be seen from a picture of him still wearing a mask during.
Yeah, thank God I was with God. I needed to be with God, bruh. At that moment, the devil was fucking trying to kill me.
His graduation, although he was seemingly at least able to have a real prom celebration in his senior year. But at the time of his graduation, Q50 was seemingly already involved with the Bloodhounds, as can be seen from these pictures posted a year earlier during the summer and fall of 2021, where he could be seen hanging out with Jeff and other members, likely in Chicago. There are also some claims that Q50 was already well connected with a gang set connected to the Bloodhounds, this being the set MTV 079, with this connection seemingly coming from another young member called Mari Scoom, or MTV Scoom, whom Q50 is sometimes called his little brother in music and on social.
Bro, it's always they call their gang after some boy that died or something. Something is always related to someone who died. They take that name, they make it a gang, and it's most of the times are all the person who knew that person that heard because somebody killed the boy and it's always like that.
Media. Mari Scoom, real name Jalen Frazier, who was an aspiring rapper, was only 16 when he was one of 4 people arrested in May 2023 for allegedly participating in killing an off-duty police officer, Ariana Preston, during a robbery. However, Scoom is seemingly not Q50's brother from his mother's side of the family, but he could be from his father's side, yet there's seemingly very little information about him online. However, on Reddit, some people who claim to have known Q50 during middle school and high school call his affiliation with MTV to be cap, and saying that Q50 only turned to the gang life after beginning to spend time with his family. Indeed, Q50's seamless-looking transformation from a high school student in Indiana to a bona fide gang member in Chicago may seem strange at first look, but as mentioned before, it becomes arguably much more understandable when looking at his broader family connections. In fact, in one video taken at his prom, Q50 can be seen posing for photos with a few of his cousins, many of these in fact being members of the Bloodhounds.
It's like a drunk auntie.
Okay.
All right, here we go. You got your plate in the picture?
That's like, yeah, the other side of the family. You know, I grew up in a normal family, but when I go to the other side of the family, they're all gang members. They're all bro, that's crazy.
And this is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Q50's family connections to this gang. Just like Lil Jeff, it seemed that Q50's early life had a lot of potential, and it hadn't been as plagued with violence as some of the other prolific gangsters I've covered, like King Von or Lil Durk. But eventually, things would change, and over time, Q50 along with Jeff and their other friends would begin to wage war on the streets of Chicago under the banner
Ik moet
of
een
the
beetje actief
Bloodhounds.
blijven, ook met die als mensen binnenkomen. Maar soms gaan ze zo snel weg, bro. Ik kan het niet eens bijhouden.
In terms of Chicago street history, there's many large gangs that have a long and storied history, like the BDs and the GDs. But in the modern era, many of these larger gangs were displaced and replaced with smaller.
What's up, Timatas? Beetje likes geven. We zijn hier zo'n beetje bezig, gewoon een beetje dit te kijken. Beetje chillen, praten met wie blijft en zo. Dus je weet zelf. Nee, ik heb geen mods. Ik ga jou als mod zetten, wacht. 2 seconden.
Localized sets that didn't pay respect to the historic allegiances and were much more motivated by the local conflicts in their blocks and the surrounding areas. As I discussed in my 3-hour deep dive into Lil Jeff, although the Bloodhounds have become one of the most known gang sets of Chicago in recent times due to rappers like Jeff, Q50 and Vert repping them hard in their music, this set, or Click as it should perhaps more appropriately be called, is at this point likely around a decade old, being seemingly formed at the time when the original drill wave was still going strong in the early to mid 2010s, being primarily made up of members of 4 gang sets sets from around the Chatham and Woodlawn neighborhoods: Drill City, MTV 079, 400 East, and Chris World, with the majority of the members coming from Drill City, while the other 3 sets having one or a few members who rep the clique. Therefore, the area that the Bloodhounds primarily claim is the same as Drill City's, this area being particularly around 79th Street, roughly from Ellis Avenue to Cottage Grove. The 79th Street as a whole is known for being particularly dangerous, and Drill City's hood is no exception, with particularly their busiest intersection at 79th and Cottage Grove being an especially wild location, where anything can go down at any moment, with frequent reports of shootings and fights, sometimes even aimed at law enforcement themselves.
They lights bright as hell. I can't.
This is also the location where Jeff and Q50 can be seen hanging out in Jeff's music video.
Ik heb je gezet als mods, man. En ik heb Ladra ook gezet als mods. You know my peeps.
For the song Should Have Saw It, as the two appear to walk around the area like they truly run the place. While there's no exact knowledge of how many members...
Oh yeah, sorry my people, I'm recording for YouTube too, so when sometimes I switch to Netherlands because my chat is mostly in the Netherlands, you know. Most of the people who come in is like, you know, speak Dutch. So my bad. I will put the video like 10-20 seconds back because I lost it a little bit, and we're gonna continue this shit.
Members the blood sometimes even aim anything as a whole is known for being particularly dangerous, and Drill City's hood is no exception, with particularly their busiest intersection at 79th and Cottage Grove being an especially wild location, where anything can go down at any moment, with frequent reports of shootings and fights, sometimes even aimed at law enforcement themselves.
They lights bright as hell. I can't.
This is also the location where Jeff and Q50 can be seen hanging out in Jeff's music video for the song Should Have Saw It, as the two appear to walk around the area like they truly run the place. While there's no exact knowledge of how many members the Bloodhounds have, there are certain names that seem to form the core group. Many of these people are older members who have been part of the clique since its inception and are now in their late 20s or early 30s, while others, like Jeff, Q50 and Vert, are part of the new generation and are still in their late teens or early 20s. While there's also a generation coming up under them, these kids seemingly being barely high school age, while still already being heavily involved in the streets.
You see, that's what I mean, bro. It's generational. It's generations and generations, bro. It's like, this is a young ass gang, to be honest. It's not young, but and they already have like 3 generations. That's crazy, bro. Like, if you look at from the Bloods, they have or like GDs or any other gang like the Black Disciples or something like that, the old gangs, they have 6 generations, 7 generations, bro. That's crazy because they multiply fast, bro. They be having kids young, and those kids be having kids young, so they multiply fast.
Dealer, brother, fucking time. I wish they would come out this crib.
Yo, no, no, really.
Taking calls.
Really? We had it.
But no.
Oh my God! Y'all not out here on the what? Stop playing with us. Y'all think? Come on, stop.
One interesting thing about the Bloodhounds is that many of the members appear to be blood-related, with the young members like Jeff and Q50 also having seemingly deep family ties to the older members of the clique. For example, besides Q50 being a cousin of both Jeff and another rapper of the Bloodhounds called Z Money, who was infamously killed in 2023. This murder allegedly starting the war between, on one side, the Bloodhounds, formerly known as Drill City, and their former friends in Trap City, a war which would eventually cost Lil Jeff his life. Q50 is seemingly also related to several of the core OGs of the Bloodhounds, such as 3 brothers, known as Tay or Tayski, Derm, and Swerve. These 3 can be seen all over Q50's family's social media, such as this picture with Q50's uncle together with them and other Bloodhounds, or the trio's mother commenting OTF or only the family on Q50's mother post of Q50 from his prom night. The trio also call Q50 their lil cuz or buzz in blood lingo. Out of these, Tay, known on Instagram as BloodyBrothers_79, is seemingly sometimes discussed by other members as being the main Bloodhound, or at least seemingly the one with the most money, with Q50 being seen on social media flexing wads of cash cash and a diamond-studded Rolex Datejust, and a caption saying most people think it must be Tay's money. Derm, on the other hand, has been dabbling with rapping in recent years, with his music videos showing familiar Bloodhound trademarks that I've covered in depth in my Lil Jeff video, like the members dropping Ys for one of their oldest ops, a crew called TYMB, as well as flexing flashy jewelry like their Bloodhound chains and designer watches, as well as big vacuum-sealed bags of dope. The younger rappers, Jeff, Q50 and Vert, can also be seen on Derm's most recent music video from April 2022 titled Bloody Mary, while Derm also mentions Jeff in his rhymes, presenting Jeff as essentially his shooter who will bail out of a car and empty a switch on you if you act tough. These three also have a younger brother called Bloodhound J, who has released several music videos. And Q50's family connections to the Bloodhounds don't end there, because he's also related to several other members, such as two brothers called Dola and Quis, whose mother is the sister of the mother of Tay, Derm, and Swerve and Jay. Quis has also gone by the rapper name Slimito, and he has a couple of music videos together with both Q50 and Lil Jeff, with Lil Jeff rapping on the song Big 3, how he, Q50, and Quis, aka Slimito, will get the job done when it comes to sliding on their ops. Tay, Derm, and Swerve, on the other hand, have for a long time been close with older Bloodhound members such as Drezzy Bands, who has also dabbled in rapping, his earliest songs being all the way back from the mid-2010s when the Bloodhounds first really became a thing, like the music video for the song Vicious from May 2016 that also includes two other Bloodhound members, Hothead and MTV Cash. In his more recent music video from March 2021, Drezzy can be seen hanging out in the Bloodhounds' hood on the 79th of Maryland, whilst dropping rakes for their close-by ops like the 8 Trey Mob, Evans Mob, and Hit Squad. Then there's the rapper JB Bin Laden from the 400 East set, who has at this point been a major figure in the Chicago drill scene for over a decade, as a result of his deep connection with murdered drill icon LA Capone. JB Bin Laden is also a Bloodhound OG, having repped the gang in his music for years. And the list of rappers just keeps going, because then there are also older guys like the before mentioned Bloodhound Hothead, who is currently locked up, as well as MTV Cash and MTV Chino, who have all repped the Bloodhounds in their music and on social media since the mid to late 2010s.
Yeah. You see them bandanas, that mean we Bloodhound.
Yeah.
Ride through with your flag out.
Got the mask on, get your car flipped over.
Video, he just looking at us, bro.
Bloodhound.
Yeah.
Are we Bloodhound on Vernon too?
Cash and Chino's MTV 079 set is perhaps best known for being the set of Glow Gang member Trey Savage, who was a close friend of Chief Keef for years before he was murdered in the Chatham neighborhood during the summer of 2020, whilst he was dropping off his girlfriend near his home turf, but also an area frequented by the ops of MTV and the Bloodhounds, Evans Mob, 8 Trey Mob, and the Hit Squad. And there's also of course Jeff's big brother and another cousin of Q50 called Jay Boogie, who has seemingly been part of the Bloodhounds pretty much since their inception, and has also been rapping to the early to mid 2010s, but he's currently locked up on gun-related charges. Boogie has a very close friend called CJ, who's also a Bloodhound OG, and seemingly one of the first members to rep the clique hard on social media. Bloodhound seemingly also—
These niggas rolling deep, bruh. There are a lot of people. How am I supposed to remember all these niggas?
have a presence all the way in Milwaukee, with members like an older guy called Big Sleep, who's also put out at least one song as a rapper together with other Bloodhound affiliated Milwaukee rappers like K-Rax, with Q50, Lil Jeff and older Bloodhound members even making a cameo in a July 2023 music video by K-Rax and other Milwaukee rappers that was seemingly filmed in Milwaukee.
I know I'm the youngest of the camp, and I cracked 40 this month. Call my blood, roll up the clientele, stupid. Oh yeah, these the baby bros, you hear me? Don't forget about the Bloodhound, Big B, Long Wizzy.
As I discussed in my Lil Jeff video, his connection to Milwaukee would even lead to rumours that Jeff and Q50 had committed contract killings in the city for their local affiliates, with numerous lyrics appearing to hint towards this. Now that we know a little bit more about the Bloodhounds and Q50's deep family ties to the clique, let's take a look at the crazy true events that played out on the streets of Chicago and culminated in Q50 eventually claiming to have caught 8 bodies. To truly understand the timeline of events that led up to Q50 becoming an alleged demon in the Chicago streets who caught 8 bodies and rapped about it, we have to go right back to the start and trace the history of the deadly wars in the area, from the original East Side crew named Lon City that formed into Drill City and later became embroiled in an in-house feud that saw a new group branching off, with a war between groups that will be named Drill City and Trap City before eventually the Bloodhounds would be fully established as one of the most deadly gang sets in the modern Chicago drill culture. So we're going to do a quick recap of some key moments from that beef, but if you've already watched my video on Lil Jeff, then you might want to skip past this chapter and continue hearing about Q50's transformation into a gangster rapper, but if not, prepare to learn the dark history of how the Bloodhounds came to be. The events of this video largely take place in the so-called East Side of Chicago, but when talking about the East Side in this context, this should not be confused with the official East Side, which is one of the 77 community areas of Chicago located in the far...
Se me apagaron damn bro, my earbuds died on me, so I need to continue with the speaker. I will try to load them at least like some like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I will try to, continue with the same shit, or I can pause it like for 5 minutes. I don't even know. I will continue like this, but just let me load it. It's a long ass shit, bro. We're already busy like 1 hour, and I used it the whole day already, so my bad.
South side of the city. The unofficial east side of this story, on the other hand, is mainly part of Chicago folklore, and thus its exact borders are often heavily debated by the locals, with many even arguing that everything in the south side from State Street all the way to Lake Michigan actually counts as the east side, which would even include
se escucha bien todavía.
their main rivals STL EBT,
O se escucha como un,
and on the other side of the Washington Park, also hoods like Tay Savage's Welch World. Yet these hoods are typically not discussed as being part of the east side, but rather simply being part of the south side, as in the case of O Block, STL, and Jaro, or more specifically in the case of Welch World, part of the so-called Low End, another area that's a deep part of Chicago folklore, which roughly covers the area on the south side from the state to the lake north of Washington Park. In the drill culture specifically, the east side has become particularly known for hoods that exist roughly south of 67th Street, with this street and the two huge green spaces, the Jackson Park and Oakwood Cemetery, that border the street, creating a natural boundary in the north. However, there are also sets on the north side of the 67th Street that claim the east side, such as TYMB and Grove City, which both rep the 65th Street. While the line of where the east side ends when going westwards from Lake Michigan is much more ambiguous, with the State Street and the I-94 next to it, generally acting as a sort of last cutoff point, in the drill scene, this east side is known particularly for gangs like G Herbo and Lil Bibby's crew NLMB, which is made up of two clicked-up gang sets, No Limit and the Muskegon Boys, with these initials creating the NLMB.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad, people. I was talking over it, so I will, put it a little bit back. Let's start over here.
In this context, this should not be confused with the official East Side, which is one of the 77 community areas of Chicago located in the far south side of the city. The unofficial East Side of this story, on the other hand, is mainly part of Chicago folklore, and thus its exact borders are often heavily debated by the locals, with many even arguing that everything in the south side from State Street all the way to Lake Michigan actually counts as the East Side, which would even include hoods like the infamous O Block and their main rivals STL EBT and Jaro City. And on the other side of the Washington Park, also hoods like Tay Savage's Welch World. Yet these hoods are typically not discussed as being part of the east side, but rather simply being part of the south side, as in the case of O Block, STL, and Jaro, or more specifically in the case of Welch World, part of the so-called Low End, another area that's a deep part of Chicago folklore, which roughly covers the area on the south side from the state to the lake north of Washington Park. In the drill culture specifically, the east side has become particularly known for hoods that exist roughly south of 67th Street, with this street and the two huge green spaces, the Jackson Park and Oakwood Cemetery, that border the street, creating a natural boundary in the north. However, there are also sets on the north side of the 67th Street that claim the east side, such as TYMB and Grove City, which both rep the 65th Street. While the line of where the east side ends when going westwards from Lake Michigan is much more ambiguous, with the State Street and the I-94 next to it, generally acting as a sort of last cutoff point, in the drill scene, this east side is known particularly for gangs like G Herbo and Lil Bibby's crew NLMB, which is made up of two clicked-up gang sets, No Limit and the Muskegon Boys, with these initials creating the NLMB moniker, which has also been used to stand for Never Leave My Brothers. However, NLMB's hood is located in the South Shore neighborhood, which is located very close to the shores of Lake Michigan, and is infamously known by the locals as Terror Town, a place with a long history for being particularly dangerous. Whereas the events of this story take place in a much more central area around the Grand Crossing and Chatham community areas, which have generally been much lesser known in the drill scene before Lil Jeff's and now Q50's recent blow-ups, although the area has seen its fair share of rappers since the early 2010s repping their specific hoods. Like with Q50's family, Lil Jeff's family has long ties to the streets in the area. His father, Jeffrey Harris Sr., allegedly belonged to a street set called 068 C Block, C standing for Champlain Avenue, with their main spot seemingly being on 68th Street and Champlain. To put this location in context, this street corner is only about 0.5 1.3 miles from the location where Lil Jeff would eventually lose his life. And while there's not much available about this particular set online, Jeff's father was born in the early 80s, and thus he and his set were likely at their most active around the turn of the millennium and throughout the 2000s. What we do know with some certainty is that Jeff's family were closely connected with the very people that Jeff would later go to war with, including the person alleged by many to have been the one to gun him down, although there's no real evidence at the moment to prove who was the actual triggerman. What can be said with more certainty is that close to the hood of Jeff's father, there would be another large hood that would end up playing a very large role in the street beefs that Jeff and Q50 would get involved in. This hood was well known in Chicago even back in the 90s and 2000s when Jeff's dad was more active in the streets, and its history likely even goes much further back than that.
That's the same shit with Lil Durk. Durk's father is from another gang, and Durk is like from the other side of, you know, the rivals and shit, but or something like that. I don't even know precisely how it is, but that's how I catched it.
Hood was called the Lon City. For example, in the classic 1996 song by Chicago rapper D.A. Smart titled Walk With Me, he lists several Chicago hoods all around the area, with one of the bars referencing Lakeside, Paxtown, and Lon City, as Smart mentions how both Black Disciples and Gangster Disciples run the two latter hoods. But while Lakeside and Paxtown have more or less stayed intact until this day, at least in name, Lon City would eventually break apart, therefore it's not included in the modern gang maps. However, during the late 90s, in the trial against Larry Hoover, the infamous founder and leader of the Gangster Disciples, or GDs, one of the former members of Hoover's GDs, who turned informant, would give a very detailed description about the Lon City's territory at the time, this territory allegedly covering everything from 78th Street to 83rd Street, and all the way from State Street to Stony Island Avenue. This territory being absolutely enormous by modern Chicago gang standards, however their main spots were seemingly on the 79th Street, such as 79th and Evans, which is just a stone's throw away from the 79th in Maryland that Jeff would later begin to claim. Due to its large size, Lon City had likely always had smaller sets working within it, both GD and BD, although the area has seemingly been majority GD. However, coming into the 2010s, Lon City, like most Chicago hoods, had lost the majority of its original structure due to the collapse of the traditional gang hierarchies during the 2000s, which led to the large gangs like the BDs and GDs to break into small neighborhood sets without any central leadership between them. In Lon City, these separate sets were also becoming more independent, particularly 6 sets that were known as 8-Tray Mob, Evans Mob, Hit Squad, Mix Mob, Wiz City, and Drill City, the latter of which would eventually become Lil Jeff's set. According to Chiracologists, these individual sets would eventually break Lon City apart completely due to some of the BD sets backdooring the original GD leaders of Lon City. In the aftermath of this breakup, what's now known as Mix Mob would seemingly keep repping Lon City even after the breakup. Meanwhile, Drill City would seemingly get its name around the same time as the Chicago drill movement was starting. Chicago drill music being the ultra-violent evolution of gangster rap, with beats inspired by Atlanta trap and gritty lyrics all about real crimes that were actually happening in Chicago. With this set having some of the first pioneering drill artists, such as the rapper known as Fat Smack, who is in fact the actual cousin of the rapper Pac-Man, who hailed from the nearby Dro City hood and is generally considered to have been the original creator of the drill genre before Chief Keef made it famous.
The devil might be real or a magic mystery, but I make you disappear. Poof, history. I know you sick of me, but Mac gets the antidote. So if you act fruity, I have to split your cantaloupe. Hey man, you know this Pac-Man, Mr. Dro City. My hat, man. Hey, I tell him, the coupe looking like a Sunday, a chocolate Maserati, butter vanilla guts, valet pocketed at the party. On my heels, she was jocking me in the lobby. See the Maury Crocodile's pocket watching like she gon' rob me. I swipe for a room, penthouse, we at the W. The name on the neck and on my stomach too.
Already in late 2010, Fat Smack would put out a mixtape titled A Day in Drill City, this being among the first drill projects ever to come out. Drill City is also known as BNC, or Bar None Crazy, which generally refers to them being an insane or renegade gang set. This means that they generally don't adhere to any central structure of a historical gang, like the BDs or GDs, and essentially are willing to go to war with or kill people that descended from the same original gang as them. It seems that Drill City will first call with another set from the former Lon City called Wiz City, or Whisper City, named after a boy called Whisper, aka Wiz, who seemingly died in 2008 from medical complications. Similarly as Drill City being bar none, Wiz City would be known as Brain Dead. This generally also meaning that they are insane or renegade BDs who again don't abide by any centralized BD leadership and are willing to go to war with other BDs. In the very early 2010s, Wiz City was seemingly already beefing hard with several of the former Lon City sets, including Evans Mob, Mix Mob, and 8-Tray Mob.
Hey man, so
I just want to talk about that mix mod thing, man. It's getting ridiculous, man. For real. That's real, man. It's getting ridiculous. First of all, we say that right there. And there, y'all hell, man. You feel me? Y'all lucky I'm on this house already. Because if I wasn't, what's going down, man? It's big drill.
Talk your shit, boy. Youngin.
For real, old 82nd movement, man. We ain't playing no games.
Boy, Drake, Will City crazy. Brain dead, you already know 82nd crazy, boy. That's out. Train mob. Mix mob. All them big, boy. We out here brain dead, crazy, boy. GDK, that fat, boy.
See this?
Let's get it. Fucking get it.
Meanwhile, it appears that Drill City members were originally much more open to linking up with different sets, even ones that were already at war with Wiz City, such as Evans Mob and possibly even Mix Mob, which might be why someone on Reddit presenting them as having lived in the area during the late 2000s and early 2010s describes Drill City as playing sides. Meanwhile, another Redditor claims that Wiz City was getting close with the TYMB set, which is known from the early drill culture for getting shoutouts from the likes of Chief Keef. However, Drill City was beefing with TYMB, and there are even rumors that they killed one of their most loved members in 2012, a young man known in the streets as Obama. Real name Reginald Smith, the 24-year-old was shot and killed in a walk-up style attack on the 6500 block of South Drexel Avenue. The wildest rumors even claim that this killing led to one of the Drill City members getting kidnapped by TYMB before getting released for a 10k ransom. However, the consensus among Chiracologists seems to be that Obama was more likely killed by a member from another set that would become very close with Drill City. But more about that later. In any case, TYMB continues to be one of Drill City's longest ops, which is at least partly why even Jeff and Q50 would still drop Wise sometimes in their music videos and on social media. At the time though, Wiz City's alliance with TYMB would allegedly cause Drill City to separate themselves from them and ally fully with their biggest ops, the Mix Mob, instead. The war between all these former Lon City sets would only keep escalating in the years to come, and alliances would keep changing over time. But moving forward, Drill City would seemingly also keep certain enemies that stayed the same, such as the majority GD sets, 8-Tray Mob, Evans Mob, and Hit Squad, who have seemingly always stayed relatively united with each other and against Drill City or BNC, as well as the Brain Dead BD set Wiz City and another nearby Brain Dead BD set called MTV 079 or Money Through Vernon.
I heard before, like, you know, all the violence started. I heard like y'all was everybody, every hood was all in one. Like y'all used to go by Lon City or the Line. Is that true or not?
Yeah, Lon City is like the whole area.
Like from Chatham to Apple.
We is Chatham. We is Chatham. Lon City. Yeah, y'all say that.
But y'all was a part of y'all hood was a part of Lon City, right?
Yeah,
Lon City movement.
But you know,
Drill City and all that.
You know, other side though now.
I ain't gonna lie.
I ain't saying how it, like, you know, how it happened, but I'll say what year would y'all say all this broke apart?
I ain't gonna lie, folks. 2009,
2009, 2010.
2009, 2010, bro. That's when really everybody, like all the on the other side, they started turning video out type of shit.
You know what this is?
About to wear. We was the only GDs. I ain't gonna lie, we was the only GDs. We ain't clicked up with nobody, nothing.
You talking about like for 8-Tray and Evans Mob?
They
be saying the shorties BDs too.
Yeah, we got some BDs. For them phones, like,
I ain't gonna lie.
yeah, like we EBK, we ain't just no everybody ain't GD. Brother BD, we family. He 8-Tray Mob. We family. We a family.
Out of these three majority GD sets, Evans Mob is perhaps best known through their early 2010s connection with the infamous Washington Park-based set 600, due to two of their members, 600 Breezy and S-Dot, having a childhood and family connection.
Yeah, I was waiting.
8-Tray Mob are a lesser known set.
Because if Chief Keef, when 600 is coming,
the average drill listener, although they too would have some rappers attempting to come up in the original drill wave, with artists like Don Darius and Murder Mal dropping some early songs that would gather some decent views, such as their 2013 music video for a remix of Lil Durk's song Competition, where one 8-Tray member can be seen proudly presenting a shirt which says MTVK, BNCK, and Wiz City K. Hit Squad, on the other hand, is perhaps the smallest set out of these three, getting its name after a man called Hits, real name Marlon Dubose, who was killed in 2010, being shot in the head and neck. These three sets, Evans Mob, 8 Trey Mob, and Hit Squad, have also created alliances with other nearby GD sets, one of these sets being the 9-5 Mob, which is located in the Princeton Park neighborhood, the name of the set coming from the 95th Street, which is a major east-west highway cutting through the entire south side. One of their main spots is the Frank O. Loden Homes public housing complex owned by the Chicago Housing Authority, which is at the corner of 95th and Wentworth. Like Evans Mob, 8 Trey Mob, and Hit Squad, 9-5 Mob is a majority gangster disciple set with a long history going back to at least the early 2010s, and perhaps because of their GD background, they would eventually get close with these former 3 Lon City sets, which may have played a part in at least one of their members allegedly eventually getting killed by the Bloodhounds, but more about that later. Anyway, this is already a lot of sets to keep track of, but to understand the story of the Bloodhounds, we also have to take a deeper look at some other sets that played a central role in how the Bloodhounds would form. During the early 2010s, while a young Q50 was already living in Indiana, Jeff and his big brother Jay Boogie would seemingly stay in the far south side of Chicago in the Burnside neighborhood, more specifically in a hood called Flipside that reps the 93rd Street, with Jeff attending the CICS elementary school close by on the 95th Street. However, it seems that Boogie would eventually either move more up north or at least would begin to spend more time around the Woodlawn neighborhood, not far from Drill City's hood, with guys from a set called Chrisworld. Chrisworld is named after a 14-year-old boy called Christopher Travis, also known as Lil Chris, who was killed all the way back in 2010 by a man named Cordell Glover, known as Wheezy or Wee Wee.
2 seconden even snel sharen, man. Ik was helemaal vergeten te sharen. Nou wacht, ik kan het via mijn telefoon doen.
Allegedly from the EBT set. Lil Chris was seemingly part of TYMB and can be seen in old pictures with them, and Chrisworld would then begin as a faction within TYMB, or YMB, meaning Young Money Boys, as the set was known before they would eventually change their name in honor of a dead member called Ty, real name Edric Walker, who was killed a year earlier in 2009 during a particularly violent night where 4 people died in 3 shootings. But while TYMB was primarily repping the 65th Street, Chrisworld would begin to rep the 66th Street, which Chris had seemingly frequented, even though he would in fact live near the 64th Street. Around this time, TYMB, the newly founded Chrisworld, and Wick City, that would later become known as O Block, were all seemingly pretty close with each other, with their main ops being sets like SDL EBT. However, this would allegedly change when Obama from TYMB was killed in March 2012, with many now seemingly thinking that his killer was a man called Kenny Mack, not to be confused with the Kenny Mack from the FBG Duck murder case, or several other Kenny Macks from different sets all over Chicago. This Kenny Mack was part of Chrisworld, and by all accounts, one of the central members in that faction. According to some Chiracologists, Obama's death was the result of a dice game gone bad, which would make sense given that even though witnesses would seemingly describe the killer simply walking up to Obama, he was in fact found dead in a hallway. However, it seems more likely that the beef between Chrisworld and TYMB had been brewing for some time, because already a couple of months earlier a girl affiliated with Chrisworld would make a post on Facebook saying F the other side, while dissing YMB, aka TYMB, and also shouting out 3 sets: Chrisworld, Trap City, and Drill City. It appears that even before Obama's murder, TYMB had been beefing particularly hard with another Woodlawn-based set, this set being called Trap City, also known as Zone 7, with the 7 representing the 67th Street that they would claim, more specifically, the intersection of 67 and Rhodes. This location is only 0.2 miles from the intersection of 67th and Langley that Jay Boogie would post to his Facebook in September 2012, with this being the first photo that he still has up on his page. Trap City and TYMB's beef was at this point well established, with beloved members like a 17-year-old named Rio, real name Ryan Gibson, having allegedly also been killed by TYMB in October 2011. Trap City and TYMB had also been beefing through music, such as the TYMB member B Gutter releasing a diss song towards Trap City called Gangbang 067K Diss in January 2012, a song where he dissed numerous members and ended the song with an outro, sending a clear message to both Trap City and Drill City, as well as shouting out TYMB's allies at the time, Wick City, aka O Block, Lamron, 600, and Mac Creek, which at the time was a faction that was part of Dro City. It seems that as early as late 2011, Chrisworld had been getting increasingly close with Trap City.
Damn, bruh. You're talking so much shit. You're talking about everybody. I thought it was about Q50. You're talking about everybody. Okay.
in the process cementing their beef with TYMB. Therefore, when Obama was eventually killed in March 2012, Trap City and Chris World would immediately become one of their targets for revenge. Regardless of who may have been behind the murder, J Boogie and other Chris World members were now in an active war with TYMB, together with Trap City and also Drill City, or 06679 as they would call themselves collectively, based on their respective streets on the 66th, 67th and 79th streets. TYMB's revenge for the murder of Obama would allegedly come in August 2012 when Trap City member Scooter, real name Johnny Howell, was gunned down in Trap City's hood. This murder was followed by escalating disses on both sides, with TYMB members even making custom shirts where they would exclusively diss these three sets, as well as dropping highly disrespectful songs like Money Man's April 2013 music video where he disses Drill City heavily, as well as rapper Tank Montana, who had been part of the Mix Mob, Drill City and the Bloodhounds, and would later change his name to Bloodhound Hothead. Money Man would also essentially admit to TYMB killing Scooter from Trap City before also dissing Chris World. Unfortunately, things weren't about to just stay online, and only a few months later, in August 2013, 06679 would lose another important member, none other than Kenny Mack from Chris World, real name Kenneth Barber, the very person rumored to have been behind the murder of Obama. A few days later, a photojournalist would capture the scene where Kenny had been killed and where his friends had left him a memorial, with one of the images capturing the tribute messages left for him by his friends, one of these messages saying simply, "R.I.P. Kenny, CWBAS, YMCPDK, F Obama." However, unlike so many murders in Chicago, this one would ultimately be solved, as the law enforcement would eventually charge a man named Anthony Bradley, also known in the streets as Capone from Dro City, more specifically a faction called Snowblock, which were affiliated with TYMB. The killing of Kenny would hit Chris World hard, and the members such as J Boogie have continued keeping his memory alive throughout the years. But the death of Kenny wouldn't only affect the older guys already heavily in the streets, because Lil Jeff himself, who was only 11 years old at the time, would later tell during an Instagram live how he would witness Kenny's murder firsthand, even admitting that this had likely messed his head up.
Long live my back. I was there.
Hey, Jug, on my dead grandma phone. You alive?
I damn near shed in a tail phone now. That hurt me a little bit. I was like, dang, it's real. Long live Kenny Mack. I was there. I witnessed that. We was about to lake. I think ever since then I've been. That's probably what it was. I feel like they clapped my homie.
Perhaps this was truly the first of many life-altering experiences that would affect a young Lil Jeff, that would ultimately eventually push him towards the life of violence that would end up costing him his life. But 2013 would also mark a moment when Chris World members, including J Boogie, would end up getting heavily involved in the now buzzing drill music scene, likely influencing Jeff and then Q50 to eventually do the same. However, unlike the majority of rappers coming out of Chicago at this time, they were mainly focusing on making very upbeat party anthems that they would perform under the group name Finesse Crew, which the Chris World rapper Saw J would first present in his solo song titled after the group in September 2013. In the music video, we can see many key members of Chris World, including the main people.
I'm tired. I'm gonna take a small ass break. I need it. I'm hungry. I need to make something to eat. I'll be back in a little bit. I'm just gonna pause it and I'll be back.